All right. What's good, people? Hope you guys are well. Welcome back to the Onyx Report. Black Masculinist news for the day. You know what it is. Just getting it in. Shout out to the early ones who came through. Hey, LaRoe, what's up? Ron, what's going on? What's good, Prince? Ryan? Excuse me. Wow. D, what's up? Good to see you out there in Philly. Hope you're well. LaShawn, Anthony, what's going on? Dr. Thunder in the building. What's good with you, man? Hope you're good. You know, Rodney, what's going on? Paul, I'm listening. Shout out to Kofa, Growth Talk with Kofa. Hope you're well. Got Black Toxic Masculinist. What's up, Donnie? Let's see. I'll make sure you subscribe to the Growth Talk with Kofa. You know what it is. His channel is doing well. It could be doing better. So go ahead and make sure you're subscribed if you're not already. Atlanta, stay focused and informed. What's up, Miss G? Hello. Layman's Journal in the house. Make sure you support Layman's Journal channel. Go over there, check him out. G-Toast, Dead Set. What's up? Poor Man's Passport Guy. What's going on? So, yo. I'm just going to get one in. Like, share, subscribe, join, and donate. Support the channel if you will, so we can continue to bring you this independent black male thought. Make sure you do that, and you see the methods on the screen. You know what they are. We got the Venmo. We got the, man, this thing is all, why is this so small? Oh, okay. We got the PayPal, we got the Cash App, we got the Patreon. You can become a patron of the channel and support with a once a month donation, or you can do that right here on YouTube by becoming a member. And there are various perks as far as suggesting shows, so on and so forth. What's up, Jamar? Yeah. So we're going to get this in. And there's a video that came across my desk that I really wanted to check out. Poor Man Passport says, good morning from the Philippines. Good morning, man. But anyway, we're going to deal with a video that came across. I want to raise a couple other points before we do that. But before I do, I wanted to bring in a good colleague of mine that y'all know here on YouTube, so we can chop it up together about what we're about to see and have a little dialogue about what's going on. What's up, High Scholar? Make sure y'all support High Scholar's channel. Go over there and check him out. Pimp Name Slipback, what's going on? Let me go ahead and bring up my good brother, Marcus Aurelius. KeepItOneHunned. What's good with you, man?
What's going on, Playboy?
Man, you know what it is. Got a couple things we're going to talk about. Wanted to get your insight on some of this. So, but before we get to that primary video, I need to set the stage a little bit. You know, one of the things I talk a lot about is black female solipsism, which really has to do with, the way in which men and even boys, even when your sons living in their homes, can become somewhat oblivious or, invisible out of nowhere. I'll give you a couple of quick examples. We're not going to stay all day on it, but I think it's a good kind of, measure of what I'm trying to say. So let me first go with, I forgot to bring something up. I'll bring it up in a second. All right, so we'll do this. There we go. Oh, 1 second. There it is. I don't know where it went for a second. All right. So you can find this on corporate.comcast.com. Walker's Legacy and Comcast NBC Universal launch new partnership to change the narrative for black women-owned businesses. Right? Shout out to black men being brutally honest. Became a new member. Welcome to the Onyx Brotherhood. Good to see you. Now I hear the same things every time I bring this up. You just whining about women. And I hear it from women. They'll sneak up in here and they're listening from the crowds, and you just hate women. It's not about hating women. What I'm trying to explain, not really to you, because my audience is black males, are the ways in which, whether you're talking about corporate, government, or even philanthropic resources have really dubbed Black women the new buffer class in one way or another. It's not as in depth as it could be, but it's in depth enough, because we know Goldman Sachs has been bragging about, was it 10 billion? I always forget the number, but I think it's over 10 billion as far as investing into Black women. And here you have another, right? So let's look at a little bit of this, and y'all know how I like to do. I'm gonna give Snoop opportunity to walk us through some of this. Hopefully y'all can hear it. So if you can hear Snoop, give me a 1 in the chat.
Oh shit, here comes Snoop.
The heels of National Small Business Week. Today, Walker's Legacy is announcing his partnership with Comcast NBC Universal, who will invest $250,000 in grant funding to our 10,000 Capital Ready campaign, an ambitious initiative to ensure that 10,000 Black women entrepreneurs are capital ready by 2025. As part of this partnership, Walker's Legacy and Comcast will host regional town halls and a national convening of various thought leaders serving Black women entrepreneurs. The first.
Okay, I apologize about that. Wrench Turner, appreciate that support. Says on the wood, as always, support Black male media. Appreciate that. Paul, appreciate that. So let me know y'all can hear it now. If you couldn't hear, could you hear the first part? I didn't have the sound right, Marcus.
It was like doubling up. It was like, yeah.
Okay, my bad. But basically, as you can see, on the heels of the National Small Business Week, we're actually seeing this kind of investment of a $250,000 grant fund for 10,000 Capital Ready campaign, an ambitious initiative to ensure that 10,000 Black women entrepreneurs are capital ready by 2025. Now, contrary to popular belief, Black men still have more independent businesses, and based on different data sets, tend to employ more people. Black women tend to lead more in one-person businesses, businesses with one employee. And so this is I think some of the kind of rationale behind this. But have you seen any serious investment being made in Black men as far as entrepreneurship?
Not here, not even in the spaces I occupy. I'm trying to understand, because you said there it is there. Change the narrative for Black women-owned businesses. I'm trying to understand what that means when they say change the narrative. Like, what is the narrative what is the current narrative that they're trying to change? Right. Because go ahead.
Well, basically, I think it's the same narrative you hear about, with feminists in general, that women are excluded from business and they need a leg up. They need help from the system. They need some type of support. And the subtext to that is that just like white men, Black men are somehow holding Black women back. And now you are actually an entrepreneur, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I just wanted to put that in context before we go further.
For a long time.
How long would you say you've been an entrepreneur?
On paper, 2001. On paper. I mean, yeah, because everybody. There's a lot of entrepreneurs that ain't on paper, but on paper since 2001. The thing that kills me about this is like, okay. Like I said, the narrative. I'm trying to understand, because they talk about the narrative. What every time I look around, you hear that, these women, they're the most educated. They start the most businesses. They doing all this winning, right? All this winning. So I'm trying to understand, like, if that's the narrative that comes back to my ears, like that's what hits me. So I'm trying to understand, like, what is the narrative that they're trying to change? I mean, it sounds good, like, you trying to change the narrative. It sounds poetry. It sounds poetic. You know what I mean? Like, whatever. But
the thing with Black men, we know, is that yes, Black men have more businesses, but we tend to, as Black folk, have businesses that start with almost zero capital, right? So it's not like Black men are kicking it with wealthy white men and smoking cigars and swapping stories on how they both oppress their own women. Black men are getting it out the mud with no support. And as a matter of fact, and I've said this before, also there's no safety net, right? When you're used to having these kind of programs that reach out to you, you develop a kind of not only a faith that you can participate in the system, but also a faith that there's something to catch you if you fall. Now, you as an entrepreneur, I'm just curious, was there ever a sense for you that if your business ventures failed, something was going to catch you. Something was going
Nope.
to hold you up.
Nope. I was just talking about this the other day. I told, I forget who it was I was talking to, but you know, when people have these things that, you know, whether it be, you know, you come from a rich family, or you got, you know, powerful people in your family, or if you just have these sorts of things that, you know, are constantly given to you, you can fail up.
You can fail up. Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
You can fail up. You'll get another shot. If you mess up the first grant, there will always be another grant or another program or something like that where you get another shot at it, as opposed to, you know, whatever bread you save up, whatever money you save up on your own, out your own pocket, getting it out the mud, you know, bootstrapping. That sometimes is a one-shot deal. You know what I'm saying? You know, and or you just whatever process that starts all over again.
Yeah. Let's hear Snoop give us a little more detail real quick.
Campaign is to increase access, knowledge, capabilities, certifications, and supplementary resources that directly grows the number of Black women-owned businesses who can secure capital, contracts, and customers for their businesses. Walker's legacy recognizes that it cannot do this work alone or in a silo, and proposes to convene, design, and execute a national strategy with an array of partners at every level, representing all sectors to achieve the commitment to 10,000 entrepreneurs and beyond.
Okay, so they're talking about 10,000 Black women entrepreneurs. And I just wanted to put that in context. Now, nothing in this breakdown did I see where you had Black women who are benefiting these programs and turning the attention to their male counterparts, be it their sons, their boyfriends, their husbands. I saw no indication in any of that. And I haven't seen any indication in any of the other things. This was the crux of my show before, where I was talking about the AKA sorority's new credit union. There's no mention whatsoever about how males can benefit, even male family members, none. And yet, when you look at fraternity-based, Black male fraternity-based credit unions, there's an option for women. So I'm just kind of looking at this. So here we go. So we got this, you know, this new venture for Black women, and this is on top of ones we've been talking about since 2020. Right, Goldman Sachs, Google, MasterCard. There's a list, and I've been kind of covering them loosely over the years, so we can just kind of look at them. And again, I'm not. My issue is that I'm not opposed to them. I'm not opposed to Black women getting help. What I'm interested in is how this can so smoothly walk past Black men, and yet the expectation that Black men still be providers and all of that is still as fresh as it was in the 1950s. So it's an interesting, dichotomy to me. But here's another, and this one is based. I think you can see this one on LinkedIn. I put all the links in the description box. But here we go. So this is another, and this one isn't so much an article as it is a post about what they're calling. This is coming from someone named Elizabeth Leiba. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Black Women's Equal Pay Day is July 27th. Black women working full-time year-round are paid 67 cents. And all earners, including part-time and seasonal, are paid 64 cents for every dollar paid to non-Hispanic white men. Now, some of you guys know I put this up on my community tab, and there was a whole lot of commentary from brothers, much of which had to do with how the pay gap has been debunked. You know, we know that for the most part, men work more hours. Men choose to go into fields that pay more. It's not so much a question of whether they like what they're doing, but they go into what tends to pay more. So there are a number of factors that this equal pay day doesn't include. Go ahead.
Let me add a couple more factors. Number one, we negotiate better salaries. And one thing that people love to leave out when they say, oh, well, women are paid less for the same job. Men, hate to say it, do most of this shit better than women. If you do the job, I don't care if it's the same job title. We talk as if the same job is done the same way by everybody. Some people do the job better and can command more money. Just how it goes. The male chef makes more than the female chef because maybe the male chef is better.
Oh, but you're also talking about men who are willing to put more hours in,
right?
In terms of learning the craft.
Thank you. There you go.
Right, so that's all a factor as well. Hold on, I'm trying to. System is having a little trouble. So these are the kind of issues that I think impact when issues about pay and income. Now this particular statement doesn't seem to be about wealth. Let me see, but it's nonetheless this statement she makes. And so the second part of that is she says, when compared to the larger scope of all women earning 82 cents for every dollar earned by men, it's evidence that the wage chasm faced by Black women is considerably wider. Now, and then she closes that with pay Black women. So you have this, statement being made, and I saw it, bouncing around social media. And I thought it was interesting because it still ignores what I said years ago. And now when you talk about employed Black men, we still earn more than Black women. But when you account for incarceration, we're the only group of men who earn less. And I say that because incarceration was never meant to be measured in this factor, but because we've been incarcerated to the degree we have been, it affects it. My point in raising this, however, is simply to say that you would think that this group who want marriageable men, at least that's what we've been hearing, if nothing else, sperm, would actually take that into account and might advocate for their men, right? Because I consider incarceration negative income, because it's not that men aren't working, it's that they're working for pennies on the dollar. But that said, here you have yet another push for an increase in pay for Black women with no regard to what men actually grapple with. Any thoughts about this?
I feel as though, and this is what I've experienced growing up and living in this system, that black women view men who actually can do the things that they say they want Black men to do as a problem. They're oppressive. The thing is that when by the time you get to a guy who has all his shit together, so to speak, is making the money that they say that they want men to make, to be the provider and protector that they say they want, then what that does is it commands that you be a certain type of female, and it demands a certain obligation to the relationship that a lot of these women are not ready to rock with. A guy, like, they'll say, I get the bag, I don't need no man, I don't need to listen to him, this and that. In their mind, they figure the person who has the money runs shit. That's the way they look at it. And they don't want to be in any situation where a man is running shit. So right. I say that to say this. While they complain, they prefer it this way. They prefer the power dynamic to be what it is, at least the perceived power dynamic. They would rather believe, like you said, we make more, employed Black men make more, but they would rather believe that, on average, they make more than us. They should run things, this, that, and the third. They want to be in control. It's a control thing, right? Yep. So, so they're perfectly fine. It's just, again, I say Black women practice white supremacy. And when I say that, I mean it this way. It's like the same way that white people will tell Black men, well, stop begging or looking for handouts and things of this nature. Do it on your own. They say that just like the Black woman does, but that's not what they really want. Because you need that power dynamic for them to say, well, we still own you. You're still beneath us, right?
Right.
And we're in control. We have to have control of you, and we're going to do that with finances, right? So Black women have picked that up from white supremacy, and that's what this none of this is by accident. Whenever a judgment is paid out to some family where a black man or boy got killed by the police or whatever, who they get the money to?
Mm-hmm.
They get the money to the mother.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a deliberate effort, and black women are also complicit with this to keep us out of the driver's seat, so to speak.
Well, this also relates to, again, when I mentioned the last video I did on the AKA's credit union. One of the things I talked about in just the title was whether or not the black community has already irrevocably split, and whether or not black women have begun to see themselves as their own racial demographic. Now, for many of the listeners of my show and other shows connected to mine, we already know that this is a constant. And if you read the comments on that video, you'll see the same. Black men have been reporting this kind of behavior for years. And I think what we're looking at right now is yet another indication of the same type of thought process, to be a separate demographic, but to benefit when black men can help secure resources in some kind of way, like when we're regarded as a community, especially around the election time of a new president. It's convenient to operate in a communal fashion. But most of the time, I think what a lot of black men see is this kind of stuff, where it has nothing to do with us whatsoever. And this is why when I posted this on Facebook, my statement with it was, this is what I mean by the question of whether the black community is already split and whether black women have become their own racial demographic, and all this push to increase resources, it's only for black women and girls. Maybe LGBT, which I tend to look at as far as black women's vantage point, it's what would you call that? It's a flattering investment, because for the most part, when we talk about LGBT, we generally talk about men who cater to women, who foreground women's opinions, who thought processes, feelings, and mimic them in some respects, right? We don't talk about, there's a variety of different types of LGBT, but the primary we focus on are those that mirror and pedestalize women. So in that regard, I can see when they work together in that interest, but you'll find heterosexual black men are generally not regarded, even boys, even sons of women like this are not regarded in this push for resources. So I say black men are irrelevant to them, even though when you account for incarceration, we earn less than everyone. So technically, if it's really about need in the black community, there's still a need, with black men included, but black men aren't included when there's an opportunity to gain. But here's the switch up, and this is a genuine this is a genuine question that I'm actually asking. I may research it if I decide I want to publish on it later. I haven't decided, but I'm going to ask nonetheless. So this is, I guess it's not letting me shrink the pictures, but as you can see, I think we're all familiar with Brother Kyrie Irving, right? And the title for this, this is on face-to-faceafrica.com or -com. Anyway, the link is in the description. It says Howard University student who asked for financial help gets $22,000 from Kyrie Irving. And I just had a question, and I'm gonna start with you, Marcus, but then I'll open it up to the comments and see. I'm just curious, how often have you seen a black woman, celebrity, wealthy, whatever, financially support black males in college? I'm just curious if that's run across your
if
desk.
I had a gun to my head, you'd shoot me. For lack of an answer. I mean, I could think of several situations where black men have helped women and boys,
as we see on the screen. Yeah,
right. And there was what's the guy, the billionaire that gave all the
resources to Morehouse,
Robert Smith, right? Robert Smith.
And I think he helped with Spelman, right?
Right, but it's possible. It's possible. I mean, again, like we be here all night. Yeah. If we point out, and the crazy thing is, no matter, even if they're not married to a black woman, black men are more pro-black than black women, right? In that regard, right? But no, I can't name one.
Yeah.
One.
Somebody
that
mentioned
stands out to me. Yeah.
When I posed the question online, somebody said, well, what about was it Nicki Minaj? And she said she was gonna help the young man who shot a man who was threatening his mother, and she was going to help him when he gets to college. And I said, he's not in college yet. And we'll see if that happens when he gets there. My question is, for Black males who are currently in school or at any point that they've been in school, are we familiar with either a celebrity or a significant Black female figure that has invested and paid for students, Black male students? Now, I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm not arguing that at all. I'm merely asking the question because we know there's a lot of celebrities that do things and don't publicize them. That happens. I'm not denying.
Right.
I'm simply saying I haven't seen it, and I'm just curious before I, if I do decide to publish on it and do a deep dive, that's another thing. But I just wanted to ask the listeners, as well as yourself, of course, if that's something that they've seen, And you got brothers in the chat saying zero. Nope, never. Zero.
Now, what we have seen, we've seen Black female celebrities make huge pushes for women's education, women's business, and things of that nature. Built a whole school, right?
Yes.
And I find it very crazy. Like when Umar started out his whole boy school thing, his biggest opposition was Black women. We all know this, Black women blew up his spot, right? Now he finds himself simping and pandering to this same group just to stay afloat as a personality, right? But yeah, and here's a comment here. I wouldn't say that right there, like, is an example that I would use, right? But, and I'm talking about the Nicki Minaj example.
Okay.
But no, I can't name one that has made like some huge philanthropic,
philanthropic investment.
Yeah. Right. I can't name one.
And I think that is a question unto itself. Like, even if after doing a deep dive, the research shows that there's significant donations under the table, that's fine. I'm glad if that is the case. I rather doubt it, but I'm glad that that's the case if we find that out. But I still think there's something to be said for the lack of public acknowledgement, because when Black men actually help other Black boys, it's regarded, but there's a tinge of, why aren't you helping the girls? Right. And I've been asked this question. I've started programs to help young men at different points. And when I go to conferences and present on it, the very first question I get is, why didn't you do anything for the boys? I mean, for the girls. Now, here's the crux of it, though. When I put the data on the screen about who needs what, and it's overwhelmingly tilted toward Black male need, there's no apology. There's no, oh my God, I guess I need to rethink this. There's none of that. It's just silence. And then they move on to the next occasion where they try to challenge people about helping boys against girls or men against women. But most of the time, when we look at resources being extended, a lot of the conversation we see, even in terms of what Black men donate, are resources for women and girls. And there's no acknowledgement about boys and men. I don't have a problem with grown men needing help. I'm not on this chest thump bullshit, because I've lived enough life to know, and I've seen how close I was to sleeping under a goddamn bridge. So I know it can happen. And when I look under those bridges and see who's there, it's usually men, and especially depending on where you live, Black men. So I have no problem with people or organizations helping Black men or Black men helping each other. But often when it comes to who extends resources, especially from our community, I tend to see it go to women and girls. Now, I brought these three things up as a subtext to the video we're going to watch for a reason, because I was talking earlier about this solipsism that I've identified, where the focus from women is just self kind of framed, right? It's only self-framed. These are three random examples that I just pulled a few minutes before the show. I didn't go looking very hard. They were right there, right? Three examples of resources being extended to women, young women, sometimes girls. No conversation about the needs of boys and men. And everybody's fine with that. But in none of these situations do you see women actually making the argument that we need to do something for our sons. We need to do something for our husbands, our brothers, our whatever it is, right? There is no mention of that. And I think that type of silence is very telling in and of itself. Very telling in and of itself. Now I'm going to play the clip, but is there anything you want to add before I pull this clip up, bro?
Yeah, just that, for anybody that might say, well, then black men should step up and blah, blah, blah. Just understand that we always get pushed back. We get attacked. We get trolled. We get this. We get that. Even doing these videos where we're trying to give the next generation or even this generation information that may help them is a problem for people. Helping black men in any way whatsoever is a hazardous occupation.
Yeah.
Okay, is a hazardous job. Hazardous. It's dangerous. Like Beanie Siegel says, dangerous. All right. So so that's for anybody who might say, well, why are you waiting for the government or this one or that one to do it? Because when we do it or we attempt to do it, we get shot at figuratively and literally.
And you remember Obama's the program, what was it? My Brother's Keeper, right? Do you remember the hostility and the outright rage that we saw women extend to men simply because he proposed an organization that wasn't even being funded by the government? It was open for philanthropic support. The first group that I heard complain about it were black women, and they actually started a petition. Even though there was a White House Council for Women and Girls, they still started a petition against the plan. And the next thing I knew, it was all kinds of men of color, boys of color kind of dynamic. But the very mention of black boys getting support had to be shot down.
Well,
and I think it's telling.
Not too long ago, I think it was Oprah or somebody in chat. Remind me of who did this. Remember somebody was trying to do a Netflix documentary on the exaggeration of, I guess, the image of black men in America, like, all this stuff that was being told on us, right? I forget it was Oprah or one of these women was trying to get a documentary on Netflix.
Oh, you talking about Obama? Not Obama. Beyonce's mother.
Beyonce's mother. It might have been her, right? It was one of these women, and black women went ape shit on this. Yeah, it was Tina Knowles. They went ape shit. No, they're killing us. So any effort, whether it be financial, whether it be to defend the image of us, or any hazardous job, is a hazardous job to do this. Right.
Shout out to Dr. Thunder. Shout out to Dead Set. I see you. CBP Film. I appreciate that post. We're aware of it. But I think this has been going on for so long. I think for some people, it's considered normal. Now, the video I'm going to play, some of you may have seen, this is a man who's actually sitting with police officers who've been called by his wife to remove him from the property, right, for a false charge. And he gives us some reflections on that. So here we go.
And then on your own accord, you can leave here, okay?
Okay, just real quick. Were you guys able to hear that little clip of that? Marcus, were you able to hear it?
Yes, sir.
Just the beginning of that? Okay.
Okay.
Give me a 1 if you heard it. And continue from there. But there we go. Donnie shot me that 1. All right, so here we go.
So you're going to leave and I can leave after you leave? I just have to leave. We're going to leave. No, we're going to leave with you. We're going to leave together. Okay. You definitely have to leave today, okay? Gotcha. So what we'll do now, go inside. Get some of your things.
You need this back?
What's that?
This.
Nope, that's for you.
This is me.
Yep.
This is me. That's officer and that's officer. Can I see your eyes, please? Is that okay? All right. My wife filed a false abuse claim against me in order to initiate a divorce, in order to get an advantage over the property that we have. Out of nowhere, she just filed a false abuse claim against me and had me evicted from the house. Women, in particular, who do this to men are criminals. They are dangerous. They are criminals. My understanding now is that this is a strategy that many women will employ in court in order to take advantage of their husbands and their property. You say, I should have seen this coming? She did everything she could to keep me from seeing what she was doing. For the men who have to go through this and the children who have to go through this, I feel sorry for you. This is painful. But the only thing that is going to heal this is justice. If you know someone, or if you are someone and this has happened to you, I'd love to hear from you. There needs to be a movement to stop this. There needs to be a movement so that some strong legislation can be put in place to stop this. This is criminal.
Okay. So it just ends there. Right? Just ends there. Any immediate thoughts on this clip, Brother Marcus?
I've been in situations like this before. You know, the funny thing is, not necessarily romantically, but the funny thing about this, and like he said, so I should have seen this coming. It kills me when panderers, and that's the word I'll use, will tell men that they should have had some superhuman vetting ability that should have told them, right, that 15 years down the line that this shit was gonna happen. Like 15 years ago, you should have been like, yo, one day she gonna call the police and accuse me of abuse.
Right.
Because she's just like that. Like,
right.
The funny thing is, when you flip the script, women get a pass for making obvious bad choices, and men they have a rap sheet and everything, right? And we blame men, right? Man picked the woman he would have never seen it. It don't even happen in the first few years or 90 days or 10, 15 years. Oh my God, how would you know?
Right.
Because we supposed to have this, superhuman ability to vet, like, somehow by looking at her parents and a living situation and this and this and this, you supposed to know that 14 years down the line,
right,
this something like this, something as complicated and as elaborate as this scheme is, it's common, right? But we're supposed to know this, you're supposed to be Doctor Strange with your head going like this and see all the possibilities and shit that could happen in the future. Just
right.
That's
well, and this is what's cold about it too. We're talking about Western women and Black women in particular, right, who have been learning how they can use the system since they were children.
Right.
You know what I mean? They've been learning how they can use the system against men. Sometimes it doesn't even require a reason. Sometimes it could just be that she's bored, right? Sometimes it could be that she's mad at you about something and she's deciding to flex what resources are available to her policy wise that are not for the most part available to you, right? She knows that she can call and threaten you, with an accusation, and that doesn't work the other way to the same extent. Yes, police might show up, so on and so forth, but it doesn't have the same kind of social impact when men actually, refer to a woman who's been abusive, despite that the data shows in Black communities, the abuse is bi-directional. It's fairly equal for men to women and women to men, but we don't talk about that. We just saw this basketball player a few days ago who was abusive toward her own wife. And we know, when it comes to abuse and lesbian relationships, those tend to be the highest. And yet that doesn't really pierce the national consciousness. People don't really, when you think about abuse, if you ask somebody, and I do this in my classes, to give me an example of what intimate partner violence looks like, they will almost always I'd say 99% of the time, and I'm saying that to be kind, because there hasn't been a 1% where I've heard it the other way. But when I pose this to my students, they always give me a description of a man chasing down a woman.
Right.
And will almost laugh at the idea that women can be abusive. But and some of my guys get there too, like, well, a woman can't hurt me. I can bench press her. What you gonna do when she shoots that bullet at you?
Right.
You still Superman?
On them hot grits.
Hot grits, when she's attacking you in your sleep, those kind of things. So I'm just trying to, here you have this kind of situation where in our community the abuse is equal on either side, but you can't have the same kind of resonance if he called the police on his wife that she does, and she knows it. And this is what I mean when I say she's weaponizing this, because even though technically speaking the policies are written in gender neutral language, it doesn't have the same cultural resonance when a man calls in. So I would argue, knowing only what he said in this video clip, she weaponized that. She weaponized that very purposefully. And is actually, not only has she thought about this is premeditated. Not only has she gotten, I would have bet, advice on how to do this, as he said, she's priming him for divorce. She's priming him when they step into family court, right? And we've heard about this for years. I've even had lawyers reach out to me and tell me that they were trained, or at least, motivated within their practices to teach women how to falsely accuse the husband of touching the children, right?
Yeah.
Even though they know it's not true, but just to make sure that by the time it gets to court, the judge is in her favor. The judge sees her and the kids as a victim from this dangerous monster of a man, right? This is common. And it's become so common that we don't call it out. Matter of fact, we still see people talking down on the men willing to speak up, right? But in terms of this question of dealing with false accusations, I wanted to kind of get a little bit of a discussion going on what men can do to navigate it. And I don't know what you feel comfortable talking about, but I wanted you to tell people about the kind of work you do, to the extent that, whatever you want to share, and how you've managed to cover yourself and protect yourself from false accusations.
All right. So for everybody wondering what I'm drinking here, this is juice. I'm not a drinker. And to be honest, I ain't a smoker neither. But a quick story. In the 90s, I shared an apartment with a girl that I grew up with. We weren't together. This wasn't my girlfriend. We had a spot right in Brooklyn. And once the situation went sour, right? Let me save you the long story. Once the situation went sour, and this is the 90s, okay? So what happened was they were trying to get me out of there. Her aunt, her mother, and everything like that, because nothing had transpired between us that was crazy. She just wanted the place to herself. So what they told her to do, and understand, again, this is the 90s. What they told her to do was to get me to hit her. Right.
What?
Right. They told her to get. I know this because, again, house phone. I'm listening to the conversation on the other phone in the house.
Wow.
Right. This is the 90s. This is back in the days, house phone. So I'm just chilling like, yeah, get him to hit you. Blah, 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 blah. And it never occurred to her that to check to see if I'm hearing the conversation. We had two phones in the house. I'm on the other jack listening to the whole conversation of them telling her, pardon me, get him to hit you. Right. So what had happened was we get into this argument, right? It was me, her, and some dude there, right? So we arguing. She gets all in my face, like right here. And I'm laughing. I'm smiling and I'm laughing. It pissed her off because I already knew what it was. I said, I know what you're doing. Just like that. I said, I know what you're doing. It ain't gonna work though. Right? So understand, right? And I've told you, Dr. T, I've never never trusted women.
Mm.
I've never trusted women. You guys, my brother, you guys, all the motherfuckers I grew up with, you guys, people I went to school with, I never trusted women. Never. So as far as keeping receipts, I've never gotten caught up in anything that I couldn't handle.
Mm.
Right. Ever since we've been communicating on technology, I've kept receipts of conversations, screenshots, and things of that nature with females. So getting to what you're speaking about. So, you know, for years a lot of my business has revolved around working with women, models, you know, taking pictures of models, videos, things like that, content creating, things of this nature. You know, I had a magazine out in New York, you know, and in your interactions with these women, you always have to create something that's going to keep you. Now, understand, you know, I'm shooting pictures, I'm shooting video and things like that. And, you know, what I learned to do is like, you know, when you're shooting a video, you have this conversation like, hey, you're happy to be here. And yeah, it's great. It's haha. You crack some jokes and all of this on tape. Right. So you have to, you know, you have to kind of always create this trail of breadcrumbs that kind of leads back to this woman is not under duress. She's willing and happy to be here. She signed things and, you know, yeah, my name is such and such, and we about to shoot this video, and like, hey, tell her where you at and tell them what you about to do and what we about, that sort of thing. And it just sounds like, hey, we just shooting content. Hey, you know, we were such and such magazine, blah, 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 blah. But this is, I have, and this is again, in that time period, I have screenshots of BlackBerry Messenger conversations between me and girls.
Right.
BlackBerry Messenger, BBM, AOL Instant Messenger, conversations like that. As soon as a girl start talking crazy to me, yeah, I'm come over there and do this and that to you. Click, 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 click. All that gets saved. All that gets saved, because if it goes down, I need proof that you was with it. Because a lot of times, and especially with what I was doing, if girls don't get what they want from you, they don't get what they want from you, they start talking crazy. And in my case, it was the cover of the magazine, right?
Oh, wow.
Right. It was the cover of the magazine. So they start talking crazy. If they don't get the cover, if they don't make it in there or whatever the case may be, they start talking crazy. They start going to this one and that one and this one and that one, you know, talking wild. So, shout out to Brandy B, because she knows some of these stories. She's in the chat. But yeah, it gets to that point where it's like, yo, you got to save all these receipts.
Right.
You know what I mean? From young. And I always, you know, because I never trusted them. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
But I've seen men videotape, and when the police show up, now I'm not, you know, I should probably ask Dennis about what's usable in court or not, but I do know that I've seen cases where men have shown the video to the police that show up to the door, and that has made the difference between who gets, like, you know, handcuffed and stuffed into the back of a car. You know what I mean? Because even in the example you gave, I'm still wondering, you know, like before you ended the story, I was like, you know, if she were to tell the police that you hit her, even, you know, clearly though that you didn't, but simply just say it to be saying it, you still have to deal with a level of, you know, contentiousness that you shouldn't have to, especially if there is no evidence. And that's one of the things that we've been seeing happening with men, that these accusations don't require evidence. And this is the power. This is when I talk about the power that women have with the state. It's the, if anything, one of the most potent aspects of it is the ability to accuse without evidence and have the person being accused treated as if he's guilty. So we moved away. Of course, black men are used to this. We moved away from innocent until proven guilty, and obviously we're guilty until proved innocent. And if you can't prove yourself innocent, you're guilty.
Sometimes evidence don't work. I give you another quick story.
Yeah, sometimes it doesn't. Yeah.
Right. So I did some pictures for this one girl. I guess these were like some actress photos, headshots, whatever the case, right? So she couldn't pay me. So we made a deal where I think she had like a Nintendo Wii, a Nintendo game system. So emails, we interacted, say, okay, this for the pictures. I'm like, okay, I'm not a gamer like that, but okay, I'll sell the game or whatever, but this is something of value, right?
Mm-hmm.
So she brought the game system to the studio. I did the pictures. I'm editing the pictures, and you know, she was kind of nutty anyway, right? So we and her got into a disagreement over the edit of the pictures, right? So now she wants her game back. The service is already rendered. She wants her game back. I said, you can't have it back. What are you talking about? I shot your flicks. You got your pictures. You know. So she showed up to the spot with the cops. Mind you, I was prepared for this. I printed out all the emails, all the email interactions. Cops pull up. She comes there with the cops. She got the crocodile tears going, bro, at the door. Now, what I learned that day is don't open the door for the police. I should have. But see, me thinking, I got evidence. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, yo, I got emails. I got evidence printed out, this and that and the other. Let me tell you something, Donnie. Contracts wouldn't work when you hear the rest of this story. Okay? These cops come in. It was some young rookie ass, you know what I'm saying? Hey, so she said you took her game. I said, no, her game was a transaction. We did a business transaction. She came here to get pictures done and this and that and the other, and she left. They didn't even want to see the emails. All they saw was her crying.
Right.
All they saw was her crying. That's all that mattered. That a woman was crying, and you, the evil dude that took her game system from her. She's like, you're going to have to give her game back. I said, listen, I got proof. Well, you're going to have to take it to court. They really had no legal basis in hindsight to take the game from me. They just had her word.
Right.
But again, this is something you learn, right? But in the moment, I'm thinking, like I said, I got paperwork, I got proof of these interactions and these conversations and the agreement. And I didn't even bother to take it to court or anything like that. I wasn't doing all of that. But what I learned that day, if I could do that again, I would have never opened the door. I would have never opened the door. They would have knocked on the door, and I would have just sat there like, you ever see that meme where the chick just sitting on the bed with the glasses on, like just waiting? I would have just sat there, never answered the door, never made a sound, and it would have been like I wasn't there. They ain't about to kick my door in for no Nintendo. Right. And if they did that, they would have been out of pocket for that. Right. But yeah, evidence.
Well, I hear you. And basically, all you could really say, or all I would say to black men in particular, is that there's no guarantee that anything is going to necessarily protect you from a false accusation. The best you can do is protect yourself with whatever evidence you can. And in some situations, like what Marcus is talking about, maybe that evidence might only have an impact in court, maybe not. Dead said anime is saying in the comment section, court doesn't always arbitrate in your favor, even with evidence either. But if it's the best you can do, it's the best you can do. And I think it tends to be a better mindset to prepare in advance to have evidence, as opposed to just hoping that someone will believe you on the strength that you're right, or that this other person you're dealing with is lying. These kind of things we've never enjoyed a guarantee with.
Right.
Now I want to back up a little. When I started the show, I talked about solipsism, and the reason I talked about it is I was letting you know that a couple of things I was going to say to you, I was going to give you some evidence about, were in relation to black women being somewhat solipsistic, right? And if you don't know what that means, You see the two definitions here, right? The quality of being very self-centered or selfish, or in terms of philosophy, and this is more what I'm looking at, the view or theory that the self is all that can be known to exist.
Right.
Phallicism is an idealist thesis because only my mind exists, right, in that regard. And so we're talking about, in this sense, when Black women can actually begin to function like Black men and boys don't exist, most particularly heterosexual men and boys. By the time we get to the video we looked at, where this man's wife has falsely accused him in preparation for divorce, she's priming him for divorce. The connection between the two is to suggest that we have conditioned, or we have conditioned women who only see themselves and have no problem in many instances using institutions against you, whether they be federal, state, local, cultural, media-based. We're in an environment where women have been conditioned, they've been socialized to see themselves as perpetual victims, whether they are or they're not, and they know that these resources tend to only work one way. They tend to only work one way, and that's one of the things I wanted to kind of get across when I first saw this video. Of this man talking about this. He was completely caught off guard, and is scrambling to figure out how to respond and what he can do. Right. These are the things that are happening to Black men on a day-to-day basis. This is not unique, right? Maybe the extent to which this is happening, how it's happening, but the fact that it's happening in a manner that he could not impose on her. It's a one-way dynamic is the core of what I'm getting at here, right? This is what makes it problematic. Go ahead.
But this is why I say Black women practice white supremacy, because in the same manner that white people, like Karens, or even white men, can use these same things. They know that they usually have the system in their favor, right? In the same way, right? These Black women that do this, and the funny thing is, again, when we tell these stories or we tell this reality, we SBE, right? So without going too deep into that, but it's a problem to tell this reality to anybody, because what we want men to fall victim to this stuff so we can laugh at them and label them incompetent, incapable, and say that they have a pathology and all of this other nonsense. So to support what we've been taught about Black men growing up, right? Again, go ahead.
Well, let me just say this real quick though, as far as the whole SBE thing. My thing is, if I see something that I believe brothers need to know, because my audience is Black men. That's if anybody else listens, great, that's cool. I appreciate your patronage to the extent that you do, but my target audience is Black men. And so, I ran across this video where this brother's sitting in his car after being escorted out of his own house. And my first thought is, brothers need to know. Now, obviously, there are brothers that have dealt with something similar. Some of us have heard of something similar, but I want brothers to be prepared in one way, shape, or form, to have at least thought it through. Like, okay, is there a way I can protect myself if X, Y, and Z happens? If that's dismissed as explaining in some kind of problematic way, you do with it what you will. But my thing is, what can we do to protect each other as Black men? And if what I can do is share a story that you might need to know and ponder in terms of what you might do to protect yourself, if it ever happens, then that's what I'm gonna do. Arming my brothers with information. I don't give a damn if people like it or not. This is what we need to do. Go ahead.
Right. Who are we as the OGs if we don't do that?
Hey man.
Who are we?
Hey.
It's just like telling the young dudes, hey man, don't get in the streets.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So we get to tell them everything else. Go get money. Watch out. Hey, look, when you go down that street and around the corner, there's a dude up. Watch out for them and don't get caught up in the streets and the street life and this and that. Yeah, and everything is open season to speak on except this.
But you said something earlier that I thought was so key, because I was married for almost a decade. I was with her for 11 years. We were married for 9. So round it out, right?
Right.
Who you are standing in front of the pastor at the wedding, and who you are 10 years later, two very different people. Who she is on her wedding day versus 10 years later, two very different people. And none of that necessarily has to be, violent or crazy, but you just grow. You both grow. Sometimes you grow apart, sometimes you don't. You cannot anticipate who the fuck this person is going to be a decade later.
Nope.
And if it's never crossed your mind that somebody you married to can fabricate a story, send you out of your own house with a bag of clothes that you have to gather together in 5 minutes with 2 cops standing at your back in preparation to take you into divorce court and leave you sleeping in that car if she has anything to say about it. If nobody's ever told you that the woman that you love can do that to you, listen to that man again. And I'm not saying this for people to develop a hatred of they want. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is never lose sight of the fact that this can happen to anybody. To anybody.
Yeah.
But we haven't really seen that. But go ahead.
Right. I want to ask the members of the chat. Who here in the chat is the same person that they were when they were 20? Who here? Who? And if you're 25, then when you were 10? Who?
Yeah.
Who here is the same person today that they were 10 years ago?
You know what's cold? When you run across an ex that you used to be with over a decade ago and you go, ooh, gosh, that bullet. I mean, but at the end of the day, man, that's all it is, man. I'm never going to stop trying to inform my brothers. I hope they don't stop informing me, because I learn every day about some new stuff that brothers are hipping me to. And there's no telling what I might walk into if my brothers aren't arming me with information. So I try to turn around and extend it right back. Well, go ahead.
Right. So it's, back to the false allegations thing. I was talking to my brother's stepdaughter, who's, she's super college, social justice warrior, feminist, intersectional, we go at it. Right? Like, black women are not believed.
Come on.
Right? Black women. And Brandy, you know who I'm talking about. Nobody believes black women. I'm like, get out of here. Get out of here. Check this out. I said, because we was talking about, and this was right before the Carly Russell thing. This is right before that. Right? So as soon as that went down, I threw that link at her like, right? Because they were just out with the dogs and the cops, and they were searching and they was doing everything. They was spending money and putting man hours and all of this shit, right? Right. So all of that, you did your whole nobody believes women thing, and then a day or two later, this chick comes out and says, I was kidnapped. They kidnapped me, and there was a baby, and the baby was walking, and I was following the baby, and then I got grabbed, and whatever she said, right? And it was pretty much, the whole Jussie Smollett situation, right? It's one of those situations, but but nobody believes black women, right? And everybody, you got all the big bobblehead chicks online talking about, see, nobody, what happens to we need protection and all this nonsense, the usual shit, and then they had to eat it. They had to eat it. So this is what I told this girl. I said, and this is right before the Carly thing. I said, no, we believe black women. That's why you have investigations. yeah, but you know, and then they say stuff like, well, there's not enough evidence. And I'm like, so you don't want evidence? So what do you want? You want Black women to be able to say he did it, and that's it. Like no due process, no nothing, just straight to the punishment. That's what belief is to these women. It's not, well, we're gonna arrest him, hold him, and then investigate. That's not belief to them. Belief is off with his head. Off with his head. They want instant punishment for anybody they point fingers at. That's belief. So I said, you know what? I hope and pray, and I'm not even religious. I hope and pray that you have a male child, because I would hope that this is not something that you would want for your male child, because we've seen instances where the mother sides with the sisterhood, right? But they want that instant, yo, we believe you. There's no way we not even hearing his side of the story. He's going straight to jail or straight to the chair, straight to the news.
It's power. It is power. It is unchecked power. And it is and it's very interesting. It's related to kind of to that show I covered a while back on Amazon called The Power, even though that was dealing with some sci-fi stuff. When you look at this kind of this Me Too capacity that women now have, and it really hasn't been called into question until you get to Johnny Depp, you get to Jonathan Majors and Carly Russell. Now it's being questioned in a way that it hasn't been for the last 7-8 years, right? This whole notion of every woman has the capacity, and she can go back in time and accuse a celebrity who's dead of something that she's saying he's done. He can't protect himself. She's suing the estate. It's at a capacity where it's unchecked. Look, check this out. Shout out to Pink Book Lessons. This is a book. This is a video that came out earlier today. Right? 11-year-old girl arrested for lying like Carly Russell. This is a young white girl, not even a woman. This is an 11-year-old white girl. She spent one day, or I think she was in jail overnight, which is longer than Carly's, spent, actually. But it's an interesting video. If you get a chance to check it out, Pink Book Lesson kind of goes through it and gives you the insight on what she did. She basically sat there on her phone fabricating, an emergency, and had helicopters, cops showing out, all of that on the basis of her, her statement about having, somebody having been taken. And, when it was all over, she's just sitting there with her phone. That's it. And the reality we have to accept, what you just said a moment ago, is Black women can do the same thing. This idea that they're not heard, nobody cares. That was the whole Carly Russell case blew that out of the water. Folks were mobilizing like crazy. Helicopters in the sky. I saw everything from hardcore conservatives to hardcore Pan-Africanist women who were saying, we gotta find Carly Russell. We gotta find her. Now, you can tell me because I only paid half the attention to Jussie Smollett or whatever. But I remember one of the things I found interesting about it, before I even knew what happened, there was this kind of air of, even before it really came out, Black folk were already looking at me like, yeah, doc, man. There was
shout out to
Carly Russell. Disappeared. None of that. There was a deep-seated, oh my God, we have to do something. But go ahead.
I don't know how to pronounce this. Bino Leon. When she said that, Bino Leon, when she said that to me, and I'm talking about, my brother's stepdaughter, right? That's exactly what because he said, because I said so. They want the because I said so. That's exactly what I said to her. I said, so you want it to be because you said so. Now, when the Juicy Smollett situation went down, right? Juicy Smollett, I'm gonna call him what Chappelle called him. When Juicy Smollett did what he did, right? My first interaction is still on Facebook. It's still on Facebook. I had a receipt. I said, wow, I got gay bash, whatever. I said, wow, that's messed up. That shouldn't happen. This, that, and the other. That was my initial reaction.
Mm-hmm.
The funny thing is that one of the girls that, you know, and this is before my YouTube, right? One of the girls that, you know, we used to go back and forth roasting. She was like, I don't know. And I was like, word?
Right.
Oh, okay. I got to look into this because for someone that I'm always going head to head with that defends all BS, to put a side eye to it. So then I heard the story that he told. And the noose and the acid and all this other. I was like, nah. And you know, oh, these guys and they look like this, and it was Chicago, and I'm like, this a lot of these things ain't going together. It ain't fitting. The puzzle pieces ain't math, and whatever terminology you want to use. And that's when I was like, nah, you know. But my initial reaction, right? So with this Carly Russell thing, I got on that train kind of late. By the time I found out what was happening, it was already, yo, she lying like this and that. And then she came out and said, I made it all up. And all these chicks is talking this nonsense. I can imagine what Clubhouse looked like for all y'all be on the Clubhouse app. They had to wear that. They really had to wear that.
But the thing is, they I don't know. You might know better than I do. They just kind of, what I've seen, they just kind of stepped back and disappeared. Like there was never a public acknowledgement.
No. Let me tell you what's going on now.
It was good.
They trying to give her, the white man mass shooter treatment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, she has mental issues. She needs mental health. Get out of here. I asked somebody, I said, does she have a history of mental issues on her jacket? And if not, get out of here. Get out of here. I ain't trying to hear that.
That only further makes my point. There was never an acknowledgement. There was never a, you know what, this can, when I say an acknowledgement, I mean an acknowledgement that this is something that a woman can do that men, for the most part, can't. This is something that can be abused even on a whim, right?
Say black.
There's no acknowledgement on it. If anything, people either got quiet or they doubled down by suggesting this mental issue.
Right. Dudes too. We got the Cape Crusaders are out talking about she shouldn't do no time. She should be mentally evaluated. Oh, you know, we know how I feel about those guys. So there's a little bit of roasting, but I'm just saying, like, for those guys, man, it's like everybody just swoops down and, you know, plays Batman to the chick. She's out there doing all this, and all of this is under the premise of believing black women, right? We believed her, or at least the system believed her, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for the black women, right, listening, who's going to hear me say this, just understand that now that this has happened, you defend her and come swoop down, and your panderers, you swoop down. Just understand that when this happens again, and if it happens for real, there's going to be a grain of salt added to this on the behalf of, see, you would think, it's kind of like what we said earlier about, you would think black women would want their men to be pushed up so that then they can enjoy the benefits of everyone else who gets their men pushed up. You would think that black women would dislike or hate a woman like this, because now when things happen to them, you know, all the terrible things that happen to black women because they're so unprotected, right? Would not be as quickly believed because you got women like this. And then we found out, you know, oh, I made it up. Your Tawana Brawleys and whatever, like, you know, they made it up. It's like, oh, you had us. And now is before we put the manpower, before we get the dogs sniffing and the flashlights going and the helicopters in the sky and all of that. Now we got to approach the case from, are you lying, as opposed to right. Now we have to prove that you ain't lying. So before we put all of these resources out, as opposed to, oh my God, a black woman is missing, let's go save her. That's how it's going to be looked at. Because understand, you're not Becky. Keisha.
Uh-huh.
You ain't Becky.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what you think, and it'll never be so. You'll never be Becky.
Yeah.
You'll never be Karen. You'll never, ever, ever. I don't care what you do.
Which is a major disservice to women who have and maybe in the future one day will endure something like this for real.
Right.
How many people are going to take it seriously on the jump simply because of that? And some of this can be raised in a larger frame. Even the 11-year-old white girl that did it, when the cop said something real interesting, he itemized how much it cost for the helicopter to get up in the air and get over to where she were. He gave an amount, and he said we're still itemizing. So it's actually at a point where this stuff becomes costly. And I said this before Carly got arrested. I think the main guy who usually reports on where they are in the case, he actually said, he intimated the same kind of thing. He said, we're itemizing, we're gathering together information and looking at how much this costs. This is getting expensive. And that alone is going to mean that, people who are genuinely going through something may have to, they may lose precious time because people are going to first have to vet if they even think this is a thing. Right. That alone can cost lives, So anyway, but hey, man, I wanted just to shout out to BGS. I want to appreciate you. Y'all don't know because Marcus hit me up and we talked just for a few minutes, and he was like, I'm like, well, you want to come up and talk about this with me? And he was like, cool. He stopped what he was doing and jumped up, and I just need to shout him out for that. So y'all make sure, and I'm gonna put this on the screen. I should have done it earlier. But, just so you know how it's spelled, go check the Keep It 100 channel, subscribe, support the brother. You see the Cash App at the bottom, hit him up, check him out, and this is how we support each other, right? We support each other because nobody else is going to do it. Nobody's coming out here to reach out and support Black male media. So it has to start with us supporting each other, right? So that's first and foremost. Second, and real quick, and I'll put this link in the chat as well. It's already there. It's standard. My book is coming out in about 2.5 weeks. It is available for pre-order. It is, you can see it on the Rutledge website. It's in the description box if you want to check it out. Solutions for Anti-Black Misandry, Flat Blackness, and Black Male Death, the Black Masculinist Term. So go ahead and check it out. It's on. They're running a sale for 20% off. I didn't set the book price. This is something that they did, but right now it's on sale for about $50. So go check it out, support, so that we can continue to do the work we're doing. Right? Any closing thought before we bounce out?
Trying to remember what I was gonna say. I think it was in reference to, first of all, the money that they spent. She should be fined.
Mm-hmm.
She should be fined. That the cost that it took to look for her, for the city to look for her, she should pay that back. I mean, you had a bunch of people saying, oh, she shouldn't do a day in jail, mental this, mental that. Look, then they locked the boy up. They locked him up and they fined him. So the same should apply to her. Okay. So, and one more thing that I want to point out. Now, I don't know how true this is, but I'm hearing that, when they a lot of people donated and they took that money and threw a party with it. Allegedly. Let's say allegedly. Right? They took the money, the donations that they collected for this girl. And they threw a party. It was a birthday party with the money. So, how mental is that?
Did they say, was that you? Who was that though? Was that that wasn't her family, was it?
I think so.
Okay.
Again, allegedly, I'll have to get back to that. He said somebody said she had a birthday party in Atlanta. Yeah, she had a birthday party. What I understand, they use it. And thank you for the Cash App. I guess somebody will have to tell me how to reference them because I don't like saying people's real names on the internet. But yeah, from what I understand, she took those donations and threw a birthday party. And this is the person we're trying to give grace to on some, yeah, she's mentally ill and this and that. Understand this, and this goes back to our original topic of false allegations. Keep receipts, gentlemen.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Keep receipts.
Yep.
Try if you can. I know we hate it, but this is the transcript right here. This phone and your text messages and your inboxes and this and that could save your life.
Yeah, I'm about to get one of the little pin cameras that you put on. People think you got a pin in your pocketbook right in the front as the camera is on. I'm telling you, especially if I got to meet with students. But anyway,
because I mean, if I told I got plenty stories. If I told the rest of the stories, we'd be here all night. Doc, there's plenty more stories where those came from. I believe. You know what I'm saying? Not just my stories, but other guys' stories. The guys that I know, they call me and they know I'm that guy. Just like you asked me, hey man, I know you got some. They call me, hey man, I almost got caught up this, that, and the third. Or they'll call me to help them get out of something. Yeah.
And we're not talking about just losing a job. No. These kind of things can cause you to lose your whole career. And it can be an arbitrary thing that someone just felt like doing, or it could be a revenge act. Whatever. It's too much on the line. And this is why it's always amusing to me when I hear these people, well, I wonder why men are not dating in the workplace anymore. Men are not are you crazy? Hell, even the whole cold approach culture is changing. It is changing. And rightfully so. It's dangerous. Your whole reputation, your well-being, your name gone in an instant simply because somebody can. And they don't need evidence. They don't need anything else. It can just happen. So again, I want my brothers to stay on their toes. None of us are perfect. It can go down for any of us at any point in time, but do the best you can to pre-prepare for what someone may do to you. And, just keep your head on a swivel. That's really the whole purpose of today's show. Just keep your head on a swivel, fellas. So shout out to Keep It 100. Appreciate it, man.
I'm gonna shout out a couple of people. Shout out to Passport OG. Shout out to Charles. I see you in there. And BGS Idmore, Donnie Mac, and D. Because I was talking to D on Gigi's stream. So what's going on, D? But yeah, man, definitely keep receipts, man.
Peace to the brothers. If I didn't call you out, it's none personal at all. Most of the time I just didn't get a chance to see you. But shout out to everybody who good brother just named and everybody else in there. So go ahead and enjoy that stogie.
Yeah, because we ain't all smoking cigars and shit. You know what I'm saying? Black men ain't out here running business, Fortune 500 businesses, smoking cigars.
I mean that in a very different way, man. I'm talking about sitting with white. That's the imagination, though. That's what I hear from these black feminists, that somehow men just got together and we just enjoying our power and laughing about everybody we've exploited. And I'm like,
but they don't believe it, because the next week they'll say that we're conquered and weak and all this other nonsense. Like, the narrative switches. It goes back and forth. 1 week we're so weak and powerless, the powerless Rangers and all this other nonsense. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we the powerless Rangers.
All right, man. I'm gonna holler at you, man.
No doubt, man. It's time to eat.
That's right. Peace to you, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Most def. Peace out. Yo.
Peace. All right. Shout out to Marcus. Keep it 100. As I said, support the channel. That said, I want to hear your thoughts in the comments about anything we addressed, especially the video clip of the brother and what he's going through. Any of the articles I pulled up, I definitely want to get your thoughts. So make sure you let us know. What are your thought processes? What is it that you think black men can do to better arm and protect themselves? Give us your thoughts. Share that information so brothers can actually use it and share it with theirs. You know what I'm saying? Other than that, y'all have a good one. I'll holler at y'all soon. Peace.